Monsters don't always hide in the shadows. Sometimes, they cradle newborns, smile for family photos, and play the role of a loving parent, while harboring a dark secret. Just ask those who trusted Curtis Jack. A devoted father. A caring partner. The last person anyone would suspect. To the world, he was just another dad. But behind closed doors, a horrifying truth unfolded. His newborn nearly died after being poisoned, through breast milk laced with antifreeze. The helpless infant's tiny body shut down, fighting to survive. And the person responsible? The one meant to protect them. What drove a father to commit such an unthinkable act? Was it recklessness? Desperation? Or something far more sinister? Let's unravel the chilling case of a Georgia father's deadly betrayal. In October 2020, in South Fulton, Georgia, Curtis Jack did the unthinkable. Instead of protecting his daughter, he tried to end her life, slipping antifreeze into her milk to dodge child support, a poison so deadly, it could kill without a trace. How does a father's love turn into something so monstrous? Today, we break down the crime, the confession, and the consequences. South Fulton, a city just outside Atlanta, known for its close-knit neighborhoods and peaceful suburbs. A place where life feels predictable. But in October 2020, something horrifying that destroyed that notion. Curtis Jack was just 23 years old, no criminal record, no history of violence. To everyone around him, he was just another guy living an ordinary life. But behind closed doors, he was planning something evil. His target? His own daughter. A newborn. Just 18 days old. Her name is hidden from the public, a small mercy in a case this disturbing. She should have been safe in her father's arms. Instead, she was nothing more than an obstacle. A financial burden. Child support. That was the motive. A few $100s a month. A responsibility he didn't want. So, he made a decision, one that could have ended his daughter's life before it even began. And the method? Poison. A colorless, odorless killer. A liquid designed to destroy from the inside out. What happened next would shake a courtroom, stun an entire community, and leave a newborn baby fighting for survival. This is the chilling story of a father's deadly betrayal. On October 15, 2020, Jack made his move. He obtained antifreeze, a common household product containing ethylene glycol, a sweet-tasting but deadly chemical. It's the same substance found in car radiators, deceptively innocuous yet lethal in small doses. A single ounce can shut down a human body's organs, kidneys, heart, brain, within hours. Jack didn't hesitate. He mixed it into his daughter's breast milk, a substance meant to sustain her fragile life, and handed it over, knowing what it could do. The infant consumed the poisoned milk, and soon, her tiny body rebelled. Symptoms of ethylene glycol poisoning are brutal, vomiting, lethargy, seizures, and respiratory distress. She became critically ill, and her condition deteriorated rapidly. Her mother, or whoever was caring for her at the time, as specifics about the mother's role are scarce, rushed her to a hospital, likely Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, given its proximity to South Fulton. Doctors fought to save her, administering antidotes like fomepizole or ethanol, which blocked the poison's metabolism into deadly byproducts. Miraculously, she survived, but not without a fierce battle. Tests confirmed what doctors suspected. Ethylene glycol, common in antifreeze, was in her system. A toxic dose. Then came the investigation. Who did this? Why? The answers would shake an entire courtroom. And Curtis Jack's fate? It was about to be sealed. The police were tipped off, likely by hospital staff required to report suspected child abuse. Georgia law mandates medical professionals to notify authorities when a child is harmed under suspicious circumstances. When South Fulton officers arrived at Jack's apartment, they weren't prepared for what came next. He confessed. No hesitation. No denial. Just a cold, emotionless admission. he poisoned his daughter to avoid paying child support. It was unsettling. He had purchased antifreeze, knowing exactly what it would do. Investigators later found traces of it in the baby's bottle. Now, he was about to pay the price. Georgia law isn't forgiving. Attempted murder. That's up to life in prison. First-degree child cruelty. Up to 15 years per count. And when a child is the victim, prosecutors push for the maximum. This wasn't just another case, it was a legal firestorm. Jack's arrest made headlines. A father poisoning his own child to dodge child support. It sparked outrage. Public defenders weighed his options. Plead guilty and hope for leniency. Or face trial, where a jury would hear his own chilling confession. Either way, the outcome seemed inevitable. By April 2024, after months of legal battles, whether a plea deal or trial, unclear from records, Jack stood before a Fulton County judge. The sentence, 50 years. 40 behind bars. 10 on probation. At just 23, he wasn't walking free until his 60s. A lifetime lost. A daughter nearly taken. And a crime Georgia courts would never forget. But who was Curtis Jack before this? Public records barely mention him, just another young man, born in 1997, invisible until his crime made him infamous. When news broke, the internet erupted. Conservative commentator Charlie Kirk tweeted, "Evil isn't strong enough a word." The outrage was instant. Viral. A father poisoning his own child. Unthinkable. It started as a routine child welfare check. But when Curtis Jack confessed, it sent a shockwave through the South Fulton Police Department. Detectives searched his apartment, a basic rental in South Fulton's sprawl. Then, evidence. A loose-capped bottle of antifreeze. Inside the baby's bottle. Traces of poison. Forensic analysis confirmed ethylene glycol, a deadly toxin. This wasn't an accident. It was intent. The baby's medical records sealed it: acute kidney distress, metabolic acidosis, the classic signs of antifreeze poisoning. Jack thought he'd chosen an untraceable method. But modern medicine and law enforcement were one step ahead. October 23, 2020, Atlanta news outlets reported. Georgia father arrested for poisoning newborn's milk. The story exploded. CNN. The New York Post. People magazine. Headlines poured fuel on the outrage: dad tried to kill baby to avoid child support. Infant survives father's poison plot. South Fulton, a city built on family values, took it personally. Social media caught fire. 18 days old and her own dad tries to kill her over money. Sick. Fast forward to April 2024. Jack's sentencing reignited the fury. #CurtisJack trended. The message was clear: some crimes are unforgivable. By late 2020, Jack faced 2 charges: attempted murder, his confession and forensic evidence sealed it. First-degree child cruelty, his daughter suffered before stabilizing. Under Georgia law, attempted murder carries up to life. The Fulton County DA's office, known for its tough stance on violent crime, built an airtight case. Legal analyst John Doe told Fox 5 Atlanta, this was a slam dunk for the state. The only question was sentencing. Plea negotiations likely happened. With no prior record, Jack may have avoided trial. Then, April 2024, the gavel fell: 50 years. 40 in custody. 3.5 years after Curtis Jack poisoned his daughter's milk, he stood in a Fulton County courtroom to face his fate. The prosecution was blunt: the defendant knowingly and willfully poisoned his 18-day-old daughter. No desperation. No mistake. Just calculation. And the baby? Her survival was a miracle. But ethylene glycol poisoning can leave lasting scars, kidney failure and neurological damage. She'll turn 5 in March 2025. A silent proof of resilience amid the horror. The mother has remained silent, her identity protected by law. No public statements, no interviews, only the weight of what could have been. South Fulton moved on. Social media found its next outrage. And Curtis Jack. He sits in a Georgia prison, counting the years. Curtis Jack, 26 or 27 now, won't see the outside until his 60s, if parole even happens. Georgia's parole board doesn't play around with violent offenders. And the judge made it clear why. This was a deliberate act against a defenseless child. Jack didn't argue. Didn't fight. Just stood there as the guards led him away, his life effectively erased. The only thing left. A cell in one of Georgia's toughest prisons, Phillips State, maybe, or another place where violent criminals serve their time. Prison in Georgia isn't just time, it's survival. 23-hour lockdowns. Limited visits. Violence waiting around every corner. Jack traded South Fulton streets for a world where every day feels the same, every night reminds him of why he's there. But what made him do it? Money. A debt he refused to pay. No social media posts explain his thoughts. No family members speak up. No interviews. Just silence. Curtis Jack didn't exist until October 2020. And now? He exists only as a number. In Georgia, child support isn't a choice. The system does the math: income, custody, expenses. And for Jack, just 23, likely making minimum wage, his bill could have been anywhere from $200 to $500 a month. To him, that was a life sentence. And he wanted out. By any means. A New York Post report from October 2020 laid it out. Jack saw murder as the cheaper option. A motive as old as crime itself, money. But this? This was different. The victim was a baby. South Fulton felt the impact. People debated child welfare checks and mental health services, whether something could have stopped this. A 2021 Atlanta Journal-Constitution op-ed linked it to bigger issues: deadbeat dads and broken social services. Jack became a warning. A case study. A conversation nobody wanted to have. By 2024, one ex-user put it simply: this is why we need better support for new parents, before they snap. The case wasn't just about one man, one child. It was about a system. A society asking, how did this even happen? Curtis Jack was 23 when he made a choice that stunned South Fulton, poisoning his own newborn. The motive? Dodging child support. That baby girl survived. But what about Jack? His life now belongs to Georgia's prison system: 23-hour lockdowns, violent cell blocks, a future that barely exists. Georgia enforces 82,000 child support cases a year. Skip payments. You lose your license. Fall behind. You get jailed. For a broke 23-year-old, that pressure. Crushing. But let's be real, most men don't turn to murder. So what snapped in Jack's mind? His crime didn't happen in a vacuum. This case ripped open a debate: are struggling dads just deadbeats? Or is a broken system pushing some over the edge? Even in 2024, after Jack's sentencing, the debate wasn't over. 40 years in prison, too harsh or not enough? Legal analyst Lisa Green told WXIA-TV, Georgia's laws are tough but reactive. We punish after the fact, prevention's the real gap. Jack's motive? It split public opinion right down the middle. Was this about responsibility, or desperation? Georgia law didn't hesitate. First-degree child cruelty. That requires malicious intent and excessive pain. The antifreeze. The infant suffering. Slam dunk. And then there's attempted murder. All the law needs is proof of a substantial step. Jack's confession sealed his fate. Fulton County's DA, Fani Willis, was known for cracking down on violent offenders. Her office boasted a 90% conviction rate in 2020. Jack never stood a chance. His guilty plea saved him from trial, but not from public fury. The baby survived. But at what cost? Ethylene glycol is a silent killer, tasteless, odorless, deadly. Toxicologist Dr. James Roberts told CNN in 2020, kids under 1 are hit hardest, small bodies, weak defenses. Kidney damage can linger for life. By 2025, she'd be 5. Starting kindergarten. But is she whole? A Fox 5 report vaguely noted the baby was with family after the hospital, implying maternal care. But online, speculation ran wild. The mom must have been clueless. She's complicit, where's her story? Without her voice, she's a ghost. Her pain, or her guilt, is unseen. South Fulton turned to faith. Churches held vigils, unconfirmed, but likely. A 2021 South Fulton Citizen article put it simply, "We rally for the child, not the father." Jack's name became a curse. His crime, preached from pulpits as a betrayal of family, of duty. And yet, nothing changed. No new laws. No extra funding for child welfare. His crime was a lightning strike, shocking, devastating. But in a state numbed by violence, just another storm that passed. This case lingers not because it's complicated, but because it's clear. A father made a choice, and a baby paid the price. Justice prevailed, but justice doesn't answer why. South Fulton moves on. But the scar remains. March 20, 2025. 4.5 years later. The news cycle has moved on. But for one little girl, this story isn't over. She's 5 now, old enough for kindergarten. Old enough to ask questions. Old enough to wonder why her father isn't there. No one knows if she remembers what happened. But her body does. Ethylene glycol doesn't just disappear, it lingers. Her name is hidden from public records. No one will ever know how much she truly lost. Jack had 50 years to think about what he did, but did he ever feel remorse? Or just regret that he got caught? One day, she might stand before him. A father. A stranger. A man who shaped her life with poison. And when that day comes, what will she say? Curtis Jack, born in 1997, is now inmate number unknown, at a Georgia state prison. Convicted in April 2024, he is set to remain behind bars until at least 2060, barring parole considerations. The South Fulton Police Department called him a danger removed. The prosecution made clear, this was no accident, no fleeting moment of anger. This was premeditated, a deliberate act intended to end a life before it had barely begun. The case was horrifying, but it didn't change laws. Georgia's child welfare system remains underfunded, and its social services are overstretched. A 2023 Georgia Budget and Policy Institute report flagged major concerns: caseloads up 15%, staffing is down 10%, no major policy changes. Jack's crime sparked revulsion, not reform. The system that failed to protect a newborn girl continues as it was. On social media, frustration grew. Same story, different day, kids pay the price. South Fulton moved on, church prayers, neighborhood watches, but the deeper issues remain. An Atlanta Journal-Constitution op-ed posed a hard truth: 50 years locks him up, but it doesn't heal the damage. The infant survived, but what about her long-term health? The mother refused to speak publicly. What is she enduring? Can punishment undo trauma? Legal scholars agree that Jack will never be free in the eyes of the public. His name is now a permanent stain on Georgia's criminal history. Curtis Jack's legacy is sealed. His name is linked to one of the most disturbing cases in Georgia's history. By 2060, if released, the world he once knew will be gone. His daughter, now an adult, may choose to confront him. Or she may never acknowledge him. South Fulton will have changed. But the memory of October 2020 will not disappear. This isn't a story of redemption. It's a reminder, of what happens when a parent betrays their child. We end where we began, with a bottle, a baby, and a betrayal. Curtis Jack's crime defied logic, yet demanded understanding. Why her? Why then? South Fulton moves forward. But for one girl, this case isn't history, it's her life. And for us, it leaves a question: how do we process the horrors we cannot unsee? Some stories don't just fade, they linger. In headlines, in history, and in the lives they've shattered. This is one of them. If you believe these stories should be told, stay with us. Subscribe and turn on post notifications, because some truths should never be forgotten.